Aotearoa, and welcome to Friday's Economy Watch, where we follow the economic events and trends that affect New Zealand. I'm David Chaston, and this is the international edition from interest.co.nz. And today we lead with news. Investors are ignoring big geopolitical risks by taking even bigger new tech risks. On Wall Street, tech firms are reporting a profit gusher. Google reported an 81% rise in profits, Amazon 56%, and Microsoft 24%, delivering a bonanza profit results yesterday across the board, crediting AI for these outsized results. The positive results will likely boost valuations ever higher. In fact, big tech is committed to $750 billion in new spending in the sector. And this impulse is a big part of driving US economic activity, which expanded 2% in the first quarter of 2026 in their initial estimate, up from a modest 0.5% gain in the fourth quarter of 2025, which was revised lower at each subsequent update. However, the current result was below market expectations of a 2.3% growth. The outcome was driven primarily by AI investment, but also exports in both consumer and government spending. But their PCE inflation was reported for March at its highest in more than 2 years at 3.5%, with 0.7% of that coming in March alone, the steepest monthly increase since the pandemic distortions. Almost certainly, April will have been higher, and probably by some margin. Personal income, before adjusting for inflation, rose 4.2%, while personal spending there rose 5.4%. No wonder most Americans don't feel like they're making economic progress, although big tech won't feel the same way. US initial jobless claims came in at 180,000 last week, a decrease and by more than seasonal factors would have indicated. But although it was expected to continue to expand, in fact the Chicago PMI slipped into contraction in April. This unexpected shift was driven by a drop in new orders and sharper than expected rises in input costs. In Japan, retail sales and industrial production data out yesterday for March were much stronger than analysts were expecting. But it was only for March, and questions still linger about their April data. Still, it is better to lead into that with a good prior month. And there were 2 factory PMI surveys out for China yesterday. The official one has it expanding marginally slower at quite a modest rate. The unofficial S&P Global version reported a slightly stronger expansion. The official services PMI showed a slightly larger contraction after a surprise tiny March expansion. In Taiwan, they also reported GDP, and it'll be no surprise to know that it was a strong 13.7% growth, well exceeding the expected 11.3% expansion. And the EU said they expect April CPI inflation to come in at 3%, up from 2.6% in March, and all driven by higher energy costs. The ECB reviewed its monetary policy settings overnight and left its policy rate unchanged as expected. The English central bank did the same. In Australia, CoreLogic said its home value index rose by 0.3% in April, slowing from a 0.6% increase in March, and this latest level is the weakest growth in nearly a year. But values are now falling in the nation's 2 largest property markets, and they're easing in every other capital city. The prospect of another rate hike next Tuesday isn't helping. Global container freight rates were little changed last week from the prior one and are now 6% higher than year-ago levels. There were few notable regional route changes. And bulk freight rates also held unchanged over the past week, although at a high level. From a year ago, these rates are now up 90%. The US Treasury 10-year yield is now just on 4.39%, down 2 basis points from this time yesterday. And the price of gold will start today up $72 at $4,616 an ounce. Silver is up $3 at $74 an ounce. American oil prices, though, are down $3 at just on $103.50 a barrel, while the international Brent price is down $9.50, now at $109 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar is back up 50 basis points from yesterday at this time at 58.9 US cents. Against the Aussie, we're up 10 basis points at 82 Australian cents. Against the euro, we're up 30 basis points at 50.3 euro cents. That all means our trade-weighted index starts today at just under 62.2, which is up 30 basis points from yesterday. And the Bitcoin price starts today at $76,167 and up 0.3% from yesterday. Volatility of the past 24 hours has again been modest, just on plus or minus 1.2%. You can get more news affecting the economy in New Zealand from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again on Monday.